Britannia, an island nation independent from the Euro-continent. On this day, the gates of the Levant family castle opened for the first time in ages. As the main hall doors swung open, sunlight streamed in, illuminating a group clad in battle gear. Their uniforms were tattered, stained with splattered blood. Some bore deep wounds, supported by comrades as they returned. Yet sunlight fell upon their backs, each radiating an air of proud resolve. Britannia's strongest organization of mutant individuals, the Knights of the Round Table, had returned to their homeland. At the forefront of the crowd, a heroic man clad in armor-style combat gear and sporting golden hair stepped forward. He sat upright upon the ancient throne. The bloodstains on his armor had dried countless times, now faded into mottled black. Yet as he sat upon the throne, that innate, regal aura radiating from his very bones still allowed one to sense the noble bloodline passed down through millennia. "My subjects." King Arthur spoke, his deep, resonant voice carrying an enchanting presence. Extending his hand toward the assembly, he offered an encouraging smile befitting a monarch. "We have finally conquered Forbidden Zone 6 in Atlantis, achieving the greatest feat in human history. This is still considered an achievement no other nation's mutant organization has accomplished since the end of the world. Now, we stand as the most powerful mutant organization in this planet." Hearing these words, the battle-scarred knights erupted in a wave of excited cheers. After enduring countless trials over the ages, they had finally breached one of the many zones in Atlantis. There were still more levels in Atlantis that have yet to be fully conquered. In their battles against the legendary deep-sea tribes, they had faced countless life-threatening situations. But now, they had survived. This was a monumental achievement destined to be recorded in the annals of history. Amidst the crowd, only Lancelot's smile was less than radiant. His thoughts drifted to the Nash Kingdom in the southwest region. He thought dismissively, "What do you mean, world's first conquest of an underground civilization? The one who truly achieved this feat was clearly me." King Arthur's gaze fell upon him. Smiling, he inquired, "Lancelot, you don't seem very happy. Is something troubling you?" Lancelot hastily replied, "No, great king. I am delighted." King Arthur nodded, paying no heed to Lancelot's subtle thoughts. He believed in the supremacy of true strength. The more powerful his subjects, the greater their value in his eyes. Ideally, everyone would possess Lancelot's ambition to challenge his throne. Yet he possessed absolute confidence that no one could surpass his own power. At that moment, Merlin, the court magician, smiled as he bowed beside King Arthur. "Upon hearing of your return, Pupil has sent their congratulations. Moreover, Lord Mildred Brat, the king's servant, wishes to speak with you." King Arthur smiled faintly. "Oh? Connect it." Soon, Brat's three-dimensional projection materialized in the center of the hall, before King Arthur. Brat first offered his congratulations to King Arthur, celebrating his successful mission of completely conquering a new zone in Atlantis with one of the powerful ancient undersea civilizations. This only marked the second time that such an instance had occurred since the end times. However, Zhang Yi's previous operation, involving multiple factions and the deployment of the Reaper of Love, had resulted in the complete annihilation of Nash Kingdom, making its legitimacy a subject of debate. Thus, as the entire world now faced the looming threat of underground civilizations, King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table had undoubtedly achieved a resounding triumph. "No need for pleasantries, Mr. Brat. You didn't come all this way just to offer congratulations, did you?" King Arthur said with a smile. His face always bore a warm smile, an approachability that easily inspired dependence and trust. Brat then described the changes in the outside world during their absence. "Fremons have been invaded by a formidable mechanical civilization. Might you be interested in seeing it for yourselves?" Brat inquired. King Arthur smiled faintly. "We've only just returned and require time to recuperate. As for whether we'll go," he paused briefly before declaring with unwavering certainty, "there is no question about it." His tone carried unwavering authority. "As a man who bears the title of king, it is my duty to lead my people against the threat of extinction in these chaotic end times. This is my unshakable responsibility." Having already gained immense rewards during their campaign against the underground civilization, they naturally wouldn't pass up such a golden opportunity. Brat nodded, then stated the primary purpose of his visit. The chairman has requested that if you intend to travel to Fremons, there is a matter he wishes to entrust to you. A gleam flashed in King Arthur's eyes before he asked with a smile, "Oh? What instructions has the chairman given?" Brat continued, "We understand you have significant conflict with the chaos entity from Huashu Kingdom. He has also traveled to Fremons. The chairman requested that if you encounter him there, you show restraint and avoid confrontation for now. For he is currently one of our trial subjects for membership." King Arthur had just returned from Atlantis and was still unaware of the details of recent events outside, though he had grasped the general outline. But what did that matter? At the mention of chaos, his gaze instantly sharpened. "The person you speak of, is that Chaos who killed my brother Bowser and forged his corpse into a weapon?" Brat gave a resigned smile. "If I'm not mistaken, it should be him." King Arthur's smile turned icy. Bowser was too weak in terms of talent. I knew he'd die on the battlefield sooner or later. But as his clan brother, to see him humiliated like this, it's a disgrace to the Levant family. I cannot forgive this. Between me and him, there must be a duel between knights." Hearing this, Brat tried to persuade King Arthur. "I hope you can wait a little longer. He is now a world-class mutant. To be honest, he might become a knight of the Four Horsemen of Dawn, just like you." King Arthur cut him off immediately. "Then it makes it all the more necessary for me to test him." He rested his elbows on his knees, smiling as he looked down at Mildred Brat before him. "Rest assured, I'll show restraint when I act. If he truly possesses some skill, I'll consider sparing his life. After all, as king, I must consider the greater good. But if his strength proves too weak, I shall have no choice but to kill him. After all, the weak have no place standing beside me." The world's situation shifted dramatically. Fremon's unrest and the sudden appearance of that bizarre polyhedron in the sky had nations and international powers alike fretting over the future. They must choose. Either fortify their defenses to prevent attacks from the underground civilization, or journey to Fremons to join this grand banquet. Danger always coexists with opportunity. Should this chance be missed, the victor of this gamble would reap immense rewards, creating an insurmountable gap between themselves and other nations and organizations. Despite Huashu Kingdom's heavy losses after that battle, its high-level mutants gained substantial origin, greatly enhancing their power. Zhang Yi, accompanied only by his closest followers, stormed into Brahma's territory, a feat that deterred both the 8 tribes and Brahma's armies from pursuit. This alone proved his strength. Meanwhile, at Brahma Temple in Mavara, the 8 tribes' heavenly dragon gathered here. Led by Ananda, the Brahma prophet bearing the title of Emperor Indra, they completed the ritual sacrifice to the Trimurti. Nearby, the leaders and officers of the 8 tribes assembled, clad in splendid high-caste attire. This ritual held immense significance, for Emperor Indra would deliver his prophecy here, determining whether they would march upon Fremons. Now, the 8 tribes' heavenly dragon urgently needed a great victory to solidify their standing in the hearts of the people of Brahma. After all, their last invasion of the southwest region had ended with Zhang Yi delivering a crushing blow to their pride. Internationally, they had become a laughingstock. Even domestically, strict information lockdowns couldn't completely block the spread of news. Many had learned of Emperor Indra's decision to avoid battle against Zhang Yi, allowing him to depart unopposed. Emperor Indra stood before the assembly, eyes closed as he activated his power. The ability to foresee the future was his supernatural gift, not a power gained after the cataclysm. It was something he was born with. He seemed naturally capable of glimpsing vague visions of the future. Though he couldn't see the future completely, glimpsing shifts in the world's fabric allowed Brahma to seize the initiative through subtle clues. After a long moment, he slowly opened his eyes, turned, and met the expectant gazes of the crowd with a faint smile. The Trimurti has given me guidance. This time in Fremons, we will reap immense rewards. Relief washed over the faces of the 8 tribes' mutants as they exchanged satisfied nods. Excellent. We desperately need this opportunity to show the world the might of Brahma. Merely reigning supreme in South Asia is no longer enough to fulfill our ambitions. Emperor Indra, please lead us there this time. Grant us a chance to prove ourselves. And us, the Dragon Clan. The crowd chattered excitedly, their eyes burning with fervor, eager to follow Emperor Indra to Fremons. Yet Emperor Indra smiled, his gaze lingering only briefly on a handful of faces. This was a major battle. Numbers mattered less than strength. Ability index was one measure. Beyond that, they needed rich combat experience and sharp minds to handle the unpredictable dangers of uncharted territory. Finally, he extended his hand, pointing to 2 figures within the crowd. This time, 2 shall accompany me. Azura and Garuda. All eyes instantly focused on Garuda Gao-Changkong and the man beside him, bare-chested, with skin darkened by the sun, yet possessed of a robust and eerily powerful physique. Amid the crowd, one mutant frowned and spoke, taking Azura along we can understand. But what on earth is Garuda going for? Azura's eyes always held a fierce, resentful glint. Among the 8 tribes, his power was second only to Emperor Indra. In the past, he had even contested this title with Emperor Indra, only to ultimately fall short. Gao-Changkong lowered his eyelids. Praise to the Trimurti. We thank your majesty for your favor. A peculiar gleam flickered in his eyes. Among the 8 tribes, the Gandharv stepped forward, speaking discontentedly, Your Majesty, are you truly intent on bringing Garuda? He is, after all, a foreigner. Gao-Changkong's inclusion among the 8 tribes stemmed solely from his attainment of Epsilon-level power. Yet all understood he remained an outsider. Even if he had supposedly renounced darkness for light, lingering reservations persisted. The assembly deemed it unwise to involve him in such a crucial mission. Emperor Indra wore a gentle smile. This is the divine decree. Bringing them along is the most suitable choice. He knew full well Gao-Changkong was an unstable factor. Precisely because of this, he had always guarded against the man. Perhaps due to his abilities, Emperor Indra often felt he couldn't fully fathom Gao-Changkong. Now, as they journeyed to Fremons, he intended to keep Gao-Changkong close at hand. Only by keeping him under his watchful eye could he feel secure. Moreover, should danger arise, sacrificing this outsider as cannon fodder would undoubtedly be the optimal choice. Yet there was one thing he remained unaware of. After arriving in Brahma, Gao-Changkong possessed an ability he had never revealed to anyone. Within the heavenly dancing treasure wheel, the reincarnation theory of the meditation seal. The snow country train journeyed northward, traversing several major regions before reaching the edge of the northeast region. Emerging from underground, the light grew brighter, revealing a vast, desolate snowfield. The sky held no sun, only a hazy, almost pallid layer of clouds reflecting onto the earth. The entire world seemed plunged into deathly stillness, like the gray screen after a game failure. Deng Shintong glanced at the satellite-marked map and said, We're almost at the Beilongjiang River. His hand rested on the communication device as he appeared to send a message. Soon after, he informed Zhang Yi, the contact is already nearby. Zhang Yi gave a slight nod, not particularly concerned. The snow country train couldn't cross the border, stopping instead at a station just before Beilongjiang River. Zhang Yi and the others disembarked. The biting cold wind lashed against them, howling like countless mountain demons wailing in the void, a sound that made one's scalp crawl. Zhang Yi had no doubt that without their top-tier combat suits and armor, this wind alone could slice through ordinary human skin. Here, nearing the Arctic Circle, one already senses such a terrifying, desolate wilderness. It's truly unimaginable how the Fremons who lived within the Arctic Circle itself endured this dreadful ice age. Fortunately, they had long been accustomed to the cold and were quite adept at protecting themselves from it. If Southerners had come here instead, they would likely have been wiped out by now. Even a small number of survivors would struggle to endure. Zhang Yi looked up and saw the immense White Dragon River stretching ahead. The river was now completely frozen over, its sheer scale incomparably greater than the Heron River in Tianhai City. From a distant vantage point, it resembled a white jade ribbon stretching across the border between two nations. Deng Shintong used his communication device to send a message to the contact. Soon after, a figure emerged from the vast expanse of snow before them. From a great distance, Zhang Yi's spiritual domain sensed a faint spatial fluctuation. Something was approaching them. He narrowed his eyes, yet his smart optical equipment detected nothing. Still, he could feel its presence, not far away. Zhang Yi looked in that direction. Moments later, a slight distortion of light appeared in the space. A snow-white figure slowly materialized. Had Zhang Yi not possessed space abilities, he truly would have missed her presence. It was a woman clad entirely in a snow-white combat suit. She blended almost seamlessly with the icy landscape, her eyes wearing transparent goggles, her expression cold and impassive. Upon clearly seeing her features, even Zhang Yi was taken aback. She appeared to be under 20, still very much a girl. The girl quickly approached the group. Her cold gaze swept over everyone present before she asked, "Which one of you is the boss?" Deng Shintong raised his hand with a smile. "That would be me." The girl didn't know Deng Shintong's name. After all, such matters required secrecy on both sides. Oh. Turning away, she retrieved a large remote control. After a few manipulations, Zhang Yi heard the roar of an engine. Suddenly, a snowmobile burst out of the snowdrifts, circled widely, and came to a halt before the girl. "This is my last mission. Boss, you've exposed my existence. I have to leave this place now. I hope you can arrange for me to go south. Damn it, you have no idea how much I hate this freezing cold." The girl complained. Deng Shintong chuckled, "Of course." The girl glanced back at him, then surveyed everyone in the surroundings, confirming once more, "All of you. Didn't you bring any transportation?" Zhang Yi smiled faintly and opened the dimensional gate with a wave. One after another, snowmobiles materialized before her eyes. The snowmobiles personally modified by Liu Karen boasted world-level performance, vastly superior to the girl's makeshift off-road vehicle conversion. A space ability talent? Her eyes lit up instantly. Space ability talents were extremely rare among mutants, their abilities offering unparalleled convenience. "No wonder," she exclaimed in admiration. Zhang Yi approached, smiling as he asked, "May I ask your name, young lady?" The girl glanced at Zhang Yi, then turned her attention casually toward Deng Shintong. Her role was solely to guide the way. Beyond her boss, she had little interest in dealing with unimportant people. Deng Shintong quickly interjected, "This is the leader of our operation, my boss, actually. So you'd better try your best to meet his requests." Only then did the girl turn, extending her hand directly toward Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi grasped her thickly gloved hand. "Big boss, you can call me Ling." Zhang Yi smiled warmly. "You can call me Chaos." Hearing the word chaos, the girl's eyes widened further. "You're Chaos." Zhang Yi chuckled. "What, you've heard stories about me too?" Ling nodded. "Even if you didn't want to hear them, it'd be hard to avoid. Lately, your name has spread across the entire world." Zhang Yi frowned slightly. "That's not exactly a good thing for me." He wasn't one for the limelight, but his power made discretion impossible. Ling remarked, "Never imagined such a formidable figure would handle this mission." She suddenly turned to Deng Shintong with a smile, rubbing her fingers together. "You never mentioned this job would be so tough. I'll demand a raise." At the mention of money, her whole demeanor brightened. The coldness on her face vanished instantly. Deng Shintong chuckled. "No problem, no problem." His expression turned serious. "If you help us successfully complete the mission in Fremons, your reward will be more than doubled." Zhang Yi and his team still chose not to use the space shuttle. Arriving in unfamiliar territory, he wanted to gather as much local intelligence as possible from Ling. Besides, the space shuttle's speed was too fast, it might lead to unexpected trouble along the way. If they accidentally stumbled into the Mechanical Legion's territory, another hastily arranged battle would be inevitable. Zhang Yi dared not underestimate the mechanical civilization. Even Karen's city had been breached. Zhang Yi dared not assume his team was stronger than Fremon's pantheon. Moreover, Alexei's warning still echoed in his ears. "Miss Ling, please guide us to the Far East region. We seek the location of the Mechanical Legion. If you know anything, we'd greatly appreciate your insights." Zhang Yi smiled as he invited Ling to board his snowmobile. Ling glanced at Zhang Yi's luxurious Snow Fox snowmobile, her eyes immediately lighting up. In the distant, frigid northern regions, venturing out without a snowmobile was tantamount to courting death. Thus, transportation here was exceptionally precious. Zhang Yi's Snow Fox was like a pre-apocalypse Rolls-Royce in top-of-the-line trim. Ling felt tempted, yet she glanced back at her own modified off-road snowmobile with a touch of reluctance. Zhang Yi casually stowed it away in his alternate space. "I'll store your things for now to avoid drawing attention. Once this matter is settled, I'll get you something even better." Ling turned to Zhang Yi, her face instantly lighting up with a radiant smile. "Big boss, you're such a good person." Moments later, Ling sat behind the wheel of the Snow Fox, gripping the steering wheel with both hands as she revved the engine excitedly across the vast snowy plains. "Whoa! This car is seriously awesome. The horsepower and chassis stability are nothing like that junk I used to drive." Zhang Yi sat in the passenger seat, with Lian Yu and Flower seated behind him. As for the other non-combatants at home, Zhang Yi hadn't let them stay outside. Instead, he'd kept them all in Muyan's shadow space. Watching Ling's excited expression, Zhang Yi shrugged helplessly. Modern vehicles are equipped with powerful artificial intelligence, their autonomous driving capabilities are at least as good as human. Yet the vast majority of models still retain steering wheels. Simply because some people still crave the thrill of manual driving. Zhang Yi's gaze drifted to Ling's side, where a white cloth-wrapped object lay. A gun? Or perhaps a melee weapon? Zhang Yi didn't press for details. Operating here undoubtedly required the ability to defend oneself. Ling's combat prowess was likely solid, but Zhang Yi only needed her as a guide to navigate the route. During the journey, Zhang Yi inquired about Fremon's. "We've come to investigate the mechanical civilization here. What do you know about it?" Ling replied briefly, "Any intel I had, I already sent to the boss in the rear vehicle to exchange for resources. Why would I keep anything hidden?" Exchange for resources referred to trading for critical strategic assets. Zhang Yi continued, "Are you aware that humanoid creatures exist among those mechanical legions?" "Huh?" Ling turned her head, staring at Zhang Yi with utter bewilderment. "What kind of humanoid creatures?" Her delicate little face was etched with confusion. Zhang Yi looked at her calmly. "Creatures that resemble humans." Ling shook her head like a rattle. "Boss, I'm just here to earn a living. I risk my life collecting intel to sell to the small-time bosses behind the scenes. Whenever the Mechanical Legion moves, I only observe from afar with my equipment or wait until they're done fighting to collect useful items afterward." She waved her hand emphatically. "I wouldn't risk my life for that. If even you haven't seen it, then it seems those humanoid creatures Alexei mentioned aren't very common." Suddenly, Ling's expression froze. She seemed to recall something, lifting her head and murmuring to herself, "Something that looks like a human? That counts?" Zhang Yi quickly asked, "Did you remember something?" Ling glanced at Zhang Yi, a playful smile playing on her lips. "I don't know if that thing counts as humanoid either. But I did see something quite interesting during one of my data-gathering trips." She rubbed her fingers together, making the classic gesture. "But this intel? It's going to cost you." Zhang Yi chuckled, not entirely amused. "Money isn't the issue. As long as your intel is worth the price." With that, he casually retrieved a glass container from his dimensional space and tossed it to Ling. This was the purest energy extracted from Yuan stone veins, now widely utilized throughout Tianhai City, including in its massive city defense weapons. "What is this?" Ling took the bottle with curiosity, examining it from all angles. The purest energy. If you traded it for food, it'd last you a year. You probably won't need it personally. Take it to any faction, and they'll trade for it. Such pure energy was the hard currency of this era. For Zhang Yi, such items had long piled up like mountains in his alternate space. After all, 70% of the Yuan stone veins beneath the Qinling mountain were under his control. Ling naturally had no reason to doubt. Who was Chaos? His very name was the best gold-plated signboard. Thanks, boss. You're so generous. Ling grinned as she tucked the glass vial into her backpack beneath the seat. Then she said to Zhang Yi, "Let me add your communication ID." Zhang Yi displayed his communication ID QR code, allowing Ling to add him as a contact. Just a moment. After a few taps, Ling quickly sent Zhang Yi a video clip. The opening shot was wide and slightly blurry, filmed from a snow-capped mountain peak. The camera gradually zoomed in, revealing a city engulfed in smoke and fire, now largely destroyed. Corpses of soldiers littered the streets, alongside the machine legions Zhang Yi had seen before. Gigantic, tower-like supersized robots, along with smaller ones, still standing at least 4 or 5 meters tall, were busily demolishing the city before beginning to dig underground. The camera swayed left and right, then suddenly a blinding light filled the frame, momentarily obscuring the view. Seconds later, the image slowly returned to normal, and the camera shifted toward the source of the light. Zhang Yi witnessed a group of human mutants parachuting from the sky, landing in the city center. They wore thick gray combat suits. The material alone indicated they were not ordinary combat troops. Zhang Yi's intelligence system immediately provided an alert about the video footage. The suits these soldiers wore belonged to Fremon's Special Operations Unit, Krufa. Fremon's excels in human genetics. After the apocalypse, they used genetic technology to cultivate numerous powerful mutants, many of whom joined Krufa. The most exceptional among them even entered the Pantheon, the highest hall of honor for mutants. Zhang Yi inquired, "Can you identify these individuals?" Identification requires assessing their specific abilities. Our database lacks comprehensive records on Fremon's mutants. Zhang Yi understood that intelligence on each nation's top-tier mutants was classified as top secret. He asked no further questions, instead continuing to study the footage. Soon, the Krufa unit that had landed commenced combat. Their prowess proved formidable, swiftly clearing the surrounding area of all robots. Some wielded flames, capable of incinerating entire streets with a mere wave of their hands. Even the weakest possessed the strength of a deputy captain. The most formidable among them was an Epsilon-tier mutant. Icy vines sprouted beneath his feet, thorns extending to pierce through several streets in an instant. Even the toughest robots were swiftly enveloped by the massive frosty vines before being crushed. The intelligence system alerted Zhang Yi. Data analysis indicates this mutant is likely the Pantheon's god of abundance, Arillo, with an ability index of 17,000 points. Immediately after, it reminded Zhang Yi, according to intelligence previously provided by Fremon's, this mutant is confirmed dead. Zhang Yi's expression instantly turned grave. A 17,000-point mutant was an exceptionally powerful entity anywhere in the world. While not reaching the top tier, it still qualified as third-rate, or even borderline second-rate, Black Chariot standard. In non-fatal combat scenarios, it was extremely difficult to completely eliminate an Epsilon-level mutant unless the power gap was significant. This meant that the entity capable of killing him must be at least Black Chariot level. Arillo's arrival swiftly altered the battlefield's dynamics. Clad in a Krufa combat suit that obscured his features, he appeared to be a burly man. While his subordinates dealt with ordinary robots, he directly targeted a colossal machine in the distance. Propelled by his jetpack, he soared skyward, hurtling toward the skyscraper-sized super robot. The light in the scene warped once more. Zhang Yi clearly witnessed a colossal frost tree erupting from the ground. It was breathtakingly beautiful, entirely silver-white, continuously growing as branches sprouted. 6 ice blossoms formed along its tendrils, resembling a stunning yet perilous work of art. A barrage of frosty thorn vines shot toward the colossal robot. Sensing the enemy's approach, the robot's cannon ports unleashed a yellow energy beam that instantly vaporized the vines. Frost flowers scattered through the air, yet Arillo's assault continued unabated. Standing atop the colossal frost tree, he commanded it to attack relentlessly. As long as his supernatural remained unspent, the frost-formed thorn vines would generate endlessly. Ice elemental mutants were inherently the most uniquely gifted ability users of this era. Countless vines shot toward the supersized robot like sharp blades. One by one, cannons opened on the robot's body, firing laser beams to collide with the onslaught. Facing the 17,000-point Epsilon-class white chariot, it held its own without faltering. At that moment, a piercing whistle split the sky. A massive missile, trailing a long vapor trail, locked onto the supersized robot and hurtled toward it. The intelligence system alerted Zhang Yi. This was one of Fremon's most powerful missiles, the St. Peter III. Yet what Zhang Yi witnessed next made his brow furrow deeply. The massive missile evaded the intercepting energy bullets with an unnatural trajectory, closing in on the colossal robot. But at that instant, it seemed to collide with an invisible object. Its forward momentum halted abruptly, and it exploded violently mid-air. The intense explosion unleashed a terrifying shockwave, blurring the view on the screen once more. It took a long time for the image to stabilize. Yet, the supersized robot that should have been struck by the missile showed not a single scratch. Zhang Yi made his assessment instantly. This is a special energy force field, similar to the shields of mutants or the telekinesis barriers of ability users. All forces stem from one source, the Big Bang that gave birth to the universe. Thus, it wasn't hard to grasp. Whether it was the robot's invisible force field or the shields of mutants with different attributes, they were fundamentally the same thing. Zhang Yi's astonishment stemmed from the fact that this mechanical civilization had advanced technology to such a level. Their robots possessed combat power that could rival, or even surpass, that of mutants. But at that very moment, Zhang Yi's gaze was suddenly drawn to another corner of the scene. He saw something far more terrifying, causing his amber pupil to contract sharply. Arillo, who had been standing atop the frost tree, was now being held aloft by the throat. His body had lost all strength, limp as a dead dog. When Zhang Yi clearly saw what was gripping Arillo's throat, he finally understood why Ling had looked so at a loss for words when describing humanoid creatures. It was an utterly bizarre entity. It was called humanoid because it possessed a torso and limbs like a human. But it was definitely not human, nor even a lizard man. For its lower half bore 6 spider-like appendages. Its entire body was pitch black, a color that seemed to absorb even light itself, rendering its form in the image blurred and indistinct, its full appearance impossible to discern. Its form radiated a soul-piercing darkness, yet possessed a pure metallic sheen. Its arms, torso, and all 6 legs were forged entirely from metal. Yet amidst the blackness, clusters of blood-red, crystal-like formations dotted its surface. Its head lacked any facial features, resembling an upside-down black bucket. At first glance, it looked like a poorly constructed snowman built by a child. Yet this humanoid-like creature, neither fully human nor fully machine, had managed to kill a 17,000-point ability index mutant in an instant. Suddenly, the crimson crystals on the bizarre humanoid's arms began to burst with blinding light. A powerful energy surged from its palms, obliterating Arillo's body. Not shattered, but vaporized into ash. Only a pure origin remained, held in its palm, stored away in some unknown form. The image quickly blurred, leaving only snowflakes. Zhang Yi's mind remained unsettled for a long time. He looked at Ling, who was deftly steering the wheel. Unable to focus on anything else, he asked, "Where did you film this?" Ling glanced at Zhang Yi and replied indifferently, "Lhasa City, 700 kilometers from here. But going there now would be pointless. There's nothing left there. This footage must be incredibly valuable, right? It cost me the price of a drone. You should know that nowadays, a drone capable of withstanding extreme cold can cost as much as a fighter jet. Although Ling's statement was somewhat exaggerated, the price of such drones was indeed expensive. She said this only to make Zhang Yi understand that the reward he offered was worth every penny. Of course, she wouldn't give this footage to Zhang Yi alone. Zhang Yi asked, "How long ago was this footage shot?" Ling thought for a moment before answering, 5 days ago. Zhang Yi nodded. "Let's go check it out." Judging by the timeline, the Mechanical Legion wouldn't linger in one place for long. Once they arrived in an area, they'd clear it out with maximum efficiency before starting to dig tunnels. 5 days had passed without any reports of them still operating there, so they must have already moved on. No amount of intelligence gathered from various sources could replace personally investigating the site. Ling glanced at Zhang Yi and said, "All right." She drove the Snow Fox ahead, the vehicle racing across the vast snowy plains before abruptly changing direction.